Welcome back to the IBJJF Podcast. Today, we are going to break down the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. This is going to be a huge event. It's part of Jiu-Jitsu CON, which also has Master Worlds. All of this goes down starting Thursday, August 31st, goes through Saturday, September 2nd. Jiu-Jitsu CON is going to be the biggest Jiu-Jitsu event ever, basically, Samir. So what are your thoughts on Jiu-Jitsu CON? I know there's over 10,000 competitors. With all the spectators there, who knows how many people are going to actually be walking through the building. But talk about Jiu-Jitsu CON a bit and just the magnitude of this event.
It's amazing how much jiu-jitsu has grown, right? In the last few years or so, And jiu-jitsu con is it's an event the Master World itself. It's an event that has been growing and growing so much and bringing a lot of attention and from to everyone. I
Yeah.
remember even when I wasn't qualified to compete masters on my last few years as adult. Like, all my friends were going to Master Worlds, and I'm like, man, seems such a fun event, and I watch it. And now and then Jiu-Jitsu Con came around, and then uh, the Master World became like just like ridiculous. Last year I was there, and it was super fun event, like two events going on simultaneously. Uh, Huge amount of mats, a lot of people walking by, vendors. It was just a super fun event. And this year, like one more record, like uh, uh, over 10,000 competitors. Jiu-Jitsu Con, even the Jiu-Jitsu Con event got the jiu-jitsu event, right? It got a magnitude also. I think because of that, because like me, for example, when I was in masters and I wanted to go and compete with my friends, I was training with them to help them, and then I wouldn't be able to go. And now they have we have an adult tournament there too,
Yeah.
so that just kills it because the Jiu-Jitsu Con just became an even more I think desirable tournament to compete. So you see a lot of good names competing there, a lot of good adults name competing there. So I think the whole tournament and the from being like an kind of like an expo style too, that also brings, like, I have students going that are not even gonna compete, just gonna go there to check out seminars, check out the GP, the super fights, the Master Worlds and Jiu-Jitsu Con. There's just a lot of things to see, like even if I wasn't competing at all, like I would, and not I didn't have any students, I'll go there just to check out and enjoy the jiu-jitsu weekend, the biggest jiu-jitsu weekend,
Yeah, it's such a great point. We have all the tournaments, masters, kids, adults, now the Absolute GP. We got a professional event, all the vendors, all the seminars. Everything is going to be incredible just to bring it all together and to bring the whole community together. So how
Yeah,
important do you feel like an event like this is for the growth of jiu-jitsu overall?
I think it's, like I said, I think it's amazing because it brings people that are not even going to compete. It brings people that just want to be with the community, just want to check out and see super high level tournaments, high level athletes. Uh, the GP, like, just to come and watch the GP in person, and go see the vendors, and it's just a mini jiu-jitsu world that's gonna be there. Like, you have everything. You have everything. You have the kids tournament, you have the master tournaments, you have the adult tournaments, you have the professional tournament, the professional GP, you have the super fights, you have so you have just so many things that I think, like I said, if I wasn't competing, if I didn't have any student or any family member going or competing, I would go there just to hang out. Uh, I think that brings attention to people, so that brings people together, that brings people that never thought about competing, for example, but I'm gonna go there for the expo to watch and all that, and then it maybe even spark up, like the will of one day being on those mats too, So it's not, and it's always good to see everybody. It's always good to see the community. You always like, but every couple steps you give, you like bump into somebody and hug and jokes, So I love the jiu-jitsu community being being here for over 2 years. So it's always nice to see a tournament like that. Yeah, like I have WhatsApp groups from Brazil, like with over 20 people, 20 black belts, friends from growing up there. It's that tournament that everyone wants to be in. So it's super nice that IBJJF has been putting not only the Master Worlds but like the whole Jiu-Jitsu Con together because, in my opinion, of course, Guild Worlds is like, let's say, our main event, but I think Jiu-Jitsu Con now has everything it takes to be like the main. I won't say the tournament because the tournament Guild Worlds is still that, is still what it is. But I think the main event of the year, in my opinion, it's becoming Jiu-Jitsu Con.
For sure. And we were talking about the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. That's a new addition this year. We didn't have it last year, but we do have it this year. So we got 8 competitors in the Absolute GP, 8 of the best black belts in the world, plus amazing super fights. So let's just go through the list of the competitors for the Absolute GP. We have Victor Hugo, Nicholas Marigali, Felipe Andrew. Those are all 3 black belt world champions, multiple time black belt world champions. Then we have Stefan Banta, Orlando Montero, Gutenberg Pereira, Francisco Lowe, and Paulo Merlin. So pretty stacked lineup. I think we should probably start with the black belt world champions. Maybe we'll start with Victor Hugo. He's the double gold absolute world champion at this year's Worlds, now a 4-time world champion. Victor has looked absolutely unstoppable this year, won double gold at Brasileiros, and he did so in really dominant fashion. Both his Brasileiros and Worlds performances were almost all submissions, looked incredible. Submissions in both finals at the Worlds, ultra heavy and the open class, which was crazy. So what are your thoughts on Victor Hugo, just the year that he's had and how impressive he's looked, and why you think this has been the best year of his career so far?
I think Vitor is a guy that has been that has shown since color belts that he was going to be trouble for everybody else in the bracket, but I think with more experience and just more time into adapting and getting better and better through the belts, this year he has been like, I think he put together like, he's just he's a big guy that it's flexible, that plays guard, that has a very complete game, like he's really good all around. You see that like test submission in the finals of the open class against Eric Muniz, that blew my mind though. Like he was beautiful, super technical, like for a guy that size to pull out something like that, like so like his fights at Brasileiro, like going at it for 10 minutes, like again, like a guy his size moving like that and going like his fights with Honor was a great match. So I think this year he he had a mission, like he had a mission this year. He went there and accomplished. He's definitely one of the guys that I've seen that improved more all around, in my opinion. Uh, uh, among like the heavier black belts on the open class, I'll say that. And the result came. This year has been nearly unstoppable. His performance at Worlds was flawless, and he has everything it takes to take this GP2.
Yeah, his performance at Worlds, like you said, and Brasileiros, those performances could not have been much better. So Victor Hugo in a great moment in his career right now. And now let's talk about Nicholas Marigali, another guy who's just been absolutely killing it in competition. Pans, I think, was one of his best performances this year. Got double gold. I believe he had 7 fights and 6 submissions, won ultra heavy and the open class, just like Victor did at the Worlds. And Nicholas also won the 2022 open class world title. So it's the last 2 years open class world titles, both in the GP, which is really impressive. Just want to hear your thoughts on Nicholas, and maybe if you could talk a little bit about some of his improvements he's made recently, because I think coming up as a younger black belt, he was still doing very, very well. But I think this is kind of the best moment of his career, and maybe it came from some of the changes he made to his training or just more maturity and experience. But I'd like to get your take on that.
So I've been watching Nicholas as well as Victor. I've been watching them since they were color belts, and Nicholas always had a very dominant game. He did really well in his first couple years as a black belt. He won Worlds, but I feel like right now his game is so much more tight. So it's everything is so much tighter. The connections, the connections that he make, it just makes so much more sense. Before I thought before even though he always had an amazing game. I believe he won worlds in every belt. He always had a super great game when he won worlds in black belt too. But I think his game was a little bit too open, and that also means like his ability to trust in his positions, like because he would open up and still get really good positions and submissions and all. But I believe now it's way harder to find a hole in his game. It's way harder for an opponent to try to capitalize a mistake because his game is very tight in the connections that he's making into his positions are super tight. So it's hard for that. Oh, let's wait for him to move to capitalize that gap or that space between one move and the other. You can see that everything he's doing, it's very it's super close. It's very systemized. It's very one behind the other one, and then his movements is super hard to stop. And that's what I've been seeing. I've been seeing that people have been having a lot of trouble fighting those gaps
Yeah.
as he's imposing his game. Once he start imposing his game, and even like at Pants, what happened with his match with Roosevelt, and I think he had another match. Can't remember exactly, but that he started a little slow too. But once he picks up, once he hits the first move, then it's one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So it's very hard to stop once he starts applying his moves. So it's definitely somebody I'm, I'm always excited to watch. Um, he in like no question he's in the best moment of his career in the past few years. Unfortunately, he didn't do worlds, but he did make that bet that he wanted to fight the champion, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to fight the champion. I like him and Vitor Hugo in the finals. Oh my God, imagine.
Yeah,
Gonna
that would
be.
be very,
I think
very crazy, very dramatic match.
yes. I think both of them in the best moment of their careers. If that happens, I'll be super excited to watch it.
So of course they have to get through some really tough opponents to make the final. But let's say, for example, Victor Hugo makes this final on one side. If they're on different sides, Nicholas makes it to the final on the other side. What do you feel like are the keys to victory for Victor Hugo to beat Nicholas and for Nicholas to beat Victor Hugo?
I think Vitor, for Victor to win, he needs to take the first step. Uh, as I said, once Nicholas start applying his first technique, the second technique is gonna be right after. The third technique is gonna be right after. Nicholas has a really really good sequence. It's hard sequences. It's hard to see. As I was saying, it's hard to stop once he start progressing. I'm a big fan of his stop game. Nicholas stop game. I always say that he's very like a lot of people. Even when he was younger, a lot of people recognize by his guard. He's a really good guard, but I feel that when he's on top, ability to manage the weight distribution, his length, and his technique, of course, I think that gives trouble to anyone from the top. But so I believe if Vitor gets starts the match already imposing his game and don't lose positions, I think that'll be the key for him to win. But once if Nicholas gets a little sequence going, if Nicholas starts and hits the first move, the second move, I think Victor will be in trouble. So I do see that match can go both ways. Um, and I'll say that, like, I'll bring up that fight again against Roosevelt. If he starts and we start going and start ahead of the game against Nicholas and don't missing positions like happened with Roosevelt as Nicholas was able to escape and then reverse the technique. Then Victor has a chance to win there. I think both of them are equally qualified to take that win. I want to see that match. It doesn't matter if it's the first one, second one, or third one, or if it's the finals. Like I would love to watch that match. I would guess since they are the last two absolute winners, I would guess they would be in different side of the brackets. I would guess he's gonna be maybe Victor is gonna be number one seed, and then Nicola is gonna be number two seed. So I guess that'll be a potential finals.
Yeah, another guy who's definitely qualified to win this bracket is Felipe Andrew. I think he's another guy we can both agree he's probably had the best year of his career this year. Won 3 major titles, won Europeans, Brasileiros, Worlds, dropped down to heavyweight, got a chance to catch up with him a little bit recently, and he just felt like that drop to heavyweight really helped solidify his game and helped give him the focus that he needed to really win those titles and put on the type of performances that he did. He's had a really high submission rate too. He's always been a guy who always really hunted submissions, footlocks, triangles, arm bars. Really, really great submission hunter. So, what are your thoughts on Felipe's year and his chances in this bracket?
Felipe, for me, it's if I can have one word for Felipe, it's consistency. Felipe is one of the most consistent guys in the high level black belt right now, in my opinion. Uh, like you don't see him having a bad performance. He's always put on a show, winning or losing. He's always super fun to watch. Uh, competes a lot. Competes a lot. His game is great. He is like as you mentioned, a submission hunter. He always finds submissions from everywhere. His footlocks are insane. His triangles are fast as rooster weight. Like it's crazy that how he shoots that triangle, how fast he shoots that triangle. Definitely somebody I'm very excited, and definitely somebody that it's a threat for anyone. Even though like the last two, we spoke about the last two absolute champions, but man, Vitor Hugo, Felipe Andrew can pull up a submission on both of them. And everybody else in the bracket. It's just his game is very submission oriented that you might not see it coming, and boom. Like I've seen great matches. I believe I remember him catching Kainan a
Yeah,
couple of years.
2022
So
Worlds
yeah,
footlock. Yeah.
yeah. So man, like that guy is yeah. His game is amazing. I love watching Philippe. I love watching Philippe. Um, he- no question, he has a chance to take it off for sure.
So those are the 3 world champions. We got Victor Hugo, Nicholas Marigali, Felipe Andrew. Of course, those guys are going to be highly ranked, have a great chance to win the bracket. We've also got Gutenberg Pereira, Stefan Banta, Orlando Montero, Paulo Merlin, and Francisco Lowe in the bracket. Out of all those names, do you feel like there's anyone in that group who not only has a great chance to win, but who you enjoy watching and who you think has a really exciting style that could add some flavor to the Grand Prix?
I think all of them has a chance to win. They're all super tough. Um, but man, like Orlando Montero has been a really good run
Yeah.
lately. Not only being having a great year, but his game. Another kid that I've been following his career since he was younger. His game is different now. His mindset is different. His training is different. His fights are different. He has been catching, not only winning, but catching a lot of tough guys. So when I saw his name, I was really excited. His fights are always super exciting. That a name that stands out for me is Gutenberg Pereira.
Yeah.
Man, that guy, uh, his fight with Vitor Hugo, 2022 Worlds, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken,
2022 final, ultra heavy.
he was winning until like 1 minute left, I think, and he was winning by like 9 points or so, or eight or something. In a very dominant match, but then man, props to Vitor Hugo. What a comeback! Uh, he has beat Nicolas Marigali in the past,
Yeah, I know he
also.
beat him at brown belt for sure.
So he's definitely somebody that uh, we want to pay attention to. Definitely somebody that, in my opinion, it stands out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the whole thing.
Yeah, Gutenberg got second actually at the 2022 Absolute GP, lost a really close match to Kynan. I believe it was just by 2 points. And he had very dominant matches leading up to that final. So Gutenberg is another guy, I think similar to Felipe Andrew. He's always hunting the submissions, has a really cool armbar off that omoplata that he hits all the time, which is a
Hmm.
very flashy and fast submission. So I definitely think we could see Gutenberg do really big things.
Yeah, no. Overall, man, I can't wait, can't wait for that absolute GP. I've been telling that's what I'm saying to my students. Like, hey, even if I don't go watch me, but watch the watch the GP. You know, even if you don't like me that much, don't watch me, but watch it. Because man, I can't wait for that GP. It's gonna be awesome, man. It's gonna be awesome.
What's really crazy about it is we have those 8 big names, then we also have a bunch of amazing super fights. So let's get into some of the super fights. I thought we'd start with Tynan and Jan Pikapau. I think we all know how good Tynan is. 60 wins at black belt, 1 loss, and his only loss was an extremely close and very even match. Tynan's been so dominant, won every major title so far at black belt. Just looked absolutely incredible. There's really not too much to say about Tynan that we haven't said already
Yeah.
about how good he is and how technical he is. And Jan Pikapau is another really tough opponent. He's a Brasileiro champion. I think this is a cool matchup because they haven't competed yet at black belt, which is a really interesting thing going into it. What do you think about the Tynan and Jan Pikapau super fight?
I think it's gonna be a really good match. I think Ian's gonna try to push the pace. Man, Ian has a super aggressive game. It's very he's like his top game is super good. His judo, he's a very athletic athlete too, and I believe that's gonna push the pace of Tainan. Tainan goes in a little bit more slower pace and put his connections together, and he's another guy just like I was saying, Nicolas Maragali. He's a guy when he start putting his sequence together, it's very hard to stop because making mistake is definitely not it's not on his dictionary, I guess. So but man, I Picapau is a beast, man. That guy, he enjoys him competing, always super active, always super like he doesn't hold anything back, you know. He doesn't hold anything back. I think all his fights he leaves everything out there, and I think that's what it takes to bring a good match against Tainan. Uh, Not letting Tainan impose his game, you know, and being trying to be ahead the whole time and pushing the pace. If Young can do that in the whole match and push the pace there, I believe that's gonna be a fireworks because when Tynam realizes he's not being able to pace the match, he's gonna start going too, and that could be like it's a potential to be one of the greatest match of the super fights in my opinion, if that intensity picks up, like you know, because Ian brings the heat. Ian brings the heat, you know, and Tynan, he's I'm sure he's not wanna let that win slide. So I think it's gonna be a super good match.
Yeah, that fight's going to be incredible. It's one of the ones I'm most looking forward to, too. And another one that I'm really looking forward to is 2 guys making their black belt IBJJF debuts. We got Cole Abate taking on Eduardo Dudu Granzotto. Cole, of course, won the worlds at purple and brown belt. I think he's been on people's radar for a really long time since he was a juvenile. He's just made some incredible performances in tournaments. Now he's training out of AOJ, so he's made some really, really interesting adjustments to his game. And Dudu is another guy who's a world champion. I believe he won it at purple belt. He won the Nogi Pans. Incredible competitor. And I think both of these guys are really looking to put a mark on their black belt career and start it off on the right foot. So what do you think about this match between Cole and Dudu?
Yeah, Dudu is a very technical guy. I think I've been watching him since early his career too. Um, really good on color belts. Excited to watch him compete as a black belt. Cole, man, it's crazy how like just a few years back he was already like he was a blue belt juvenile, you know,
Yeah.
and now it's crazy how he improved in a short amount of time. Uh, Juvenile, and then he won worlds as a purple belt. He won worlds as a brown belt, and now he's already here as a black belt. And I'm super excited, man, to watch him as a black belt, just to see that improvement, that evolution of his game. because like I said, just a couple years back, he was a blue belt juvenile, so 18-year old black belt coming in like really good fashion, like winning every tournament. He just won, I believe, Asian, right? Asian Open
Yeah.
as a brown belt and got his black belt over there. So I believe that's gonna be his black belt debut, as you mentioned, in IBJJF. So yeah, so I can't wait for that match. I can't wait to watch Cole uh, improvements throughout the next few years and see how. And also one thing that I'm definitely gonna analyze is his fight this week compared to his fight next year at Worlds. This is something that I'm really looking forward. I want to watch him at Pans, and then I watch him at Worlds and see that what 8 months, kind of 8 9 months different, what that can do in this game. Because 2 years ago that kid was a blue belt, and now he's already going to start his black belt career. So I'm really looking forward to see that 9 months difference. What's gonna be.
And this is going to be a lightweight match, which is pretty interesting. I think Cole's been competing at lightweight most of
Mm-hmm.
2023, but Dudu usually competes at featherweight. I know he even used to compete at light feather back maybe in 2022. So that'll add a little bit of interesting flair to this match. I think Cole's used to that weight. Dudu's going to be going up. I know he's been doing some strength training and trying to get his weight up a little bit and his strength up to deal with that. But that's another interesting factor in this match as well, is this that it's at lightweight.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Cole has been doing lightweight the whole 2023, right? He won worlds at lightweight.
Yeah.
I believe Dudu competed at featherweight, right? He competed at featherweight. Yes, Dudu
Yes.
competed at featherweight. So maybe Cole will have a little bit of advantage there. But looking forward to watch that match. Really looking forward to watch that match.
Absolutely. Then we also have Jenaina Lebre taking on Emily Fernandez. Jenaina is a two-time world silver medalist, made the final of the Worlds the last 2 years in the lightweight division, also won the female lightweight Grand Prix in 2022. Emily Fernandez is a bit of a newer black belt. She's had her black belt for less time than Jenaina, but she's had some great results. Trains under Bruno Bastos at a great academy, has an amazing close guard. I think this is a pretty interesting matchup. One thing that's really interesting is that Emily's first match at black belt was against Jenaina at Jiu-Jitsu CON last year.
Oh
Pretty
wow.
close match. Jenaina actually ended up winning at the end on points, but it was a close match, and Emily's talked about how she's evolved so much since then, so it should be pretty different than the first time around. But what do you think about Jenaina versus Emily?
Yeah, that fight's definitely gonna be a really good fight. Uh, Janaina, man, she shocked the world last year at the IBJJF GP, uh, beating Ana Rodriguez. I believe like her game is great. Like she has a great technique. She has a really good drive. She doesn't stop until she gets the job done. So Emily, she has a really good guard. I believe I haven't I don't think I saw their match before, but I can see Janine on top trying to apply pressure, Emily playing guard there. Should be a very interesting match. I I believe Janaina pushing the pace in that match, and Emily trying to get her good positions there to try to score or even get a submission. So should be a great match. Uh, all Janaina's match, in my opinions, are super excited. So I'm definitely gonna be watching that. I'm not gonna miss that one. And I want to see how Emily is gonna what will be Emily's strategy dealing with Janaina's drive and pressure. So that should be interesting. As you mentioned, I'm sure Emily improved a lot since their last match. So I'm definitely gonna see. I definitely want to see if she's gonna pull up a different strategy, or she definitely has a really good coach. Bruno is definitely gonna really help her with that strategy, and also I'm looking forward to that match. Let's see, uh, let's see how it plays out.
It's going to be a great one. Let's talk about Ronaldo Jr. versus Sebastian Rodriguez. This one, I think everyone knows this is going to be a great match heading
Oh
into
yeah.
it. Two Pan champions. Sebastian's also a no-gi world champion. Both guys really like to push the pace, very open styles. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. Ronaldo's played guard a lot more this past year. He's been pulling guard. Of course, we all know about his top game. Sebastian's really well-rounded. I would say he plays guard a little bit more than top position. But what do you think about this matchup stylistically, and what we could potentially see from it?
I think it's gonna be a great match for sure. Sebastian has a really good guard, really good like Berimbolo game and all. Um, I see him pulling guard and his guard defensively too is very good. You know, very technical. But Ronaldo, man, like that guy pushes the pace from the bottom, from the top. Um, I do see him pulling guard a lot lately, but I'll say that I can see Sebastian pulling guard before him, and I think we're gonna. I think we as ex-potatoes, we're gonna win. It's gonna be a win-win situation for us because
Yes.
we're gonna see Sebastian's great guard against Ronaldo's great passing game. So I think it's gonna be a huge treat for us watching that fight. That fight's definitely gonna. It's there's like this is one of the fights that I see that there's no way not going super exciting. Like I think both of the fighters are very exciting. They they are also two fighters that leave it all out there. Like Sebastian, always when I see him, I feel that he recovers really fast between matches because I see him leaving everything out of the everything in those matches. So and Ronaldo the same thing, man. Like that guy doesn't even breathe. He doesn't even breathe through his mouth. The whole match he's like, and just going and going and going. So it's so beautiful to watch. Can't wait. This is a super interesting matchup. Can't wait to watch that match. It's definitely gonna be fireworks. There's no other word.
Absolutely. And Ronaldo was having such a good year. Then he had an injury that kept him out of the Worlds, unfortunately. But he returned to American Nationals, won the Open class there with some incredible matches. So, like you said, I think this is one that everyone's really looking forward to. So let's move on to the last super fight. We've got Jonathan Alves taking on Jackson Nagai, rematch of the lightweight semifinal of the 2023 Worlds. In that match, Jonathan won. I believe he won by 4 advantages, didn't score any points, nearly got Jackson's back. But Jackson's been competing a lot more consistently than we've ever seen him at black belt. He is a Pan silver medalist, so he's definitely done well in major tournaments. Jonathan Alves, 4-time Pan champion and a 2023 world champion, so he's got all the credentials. But what do you think about this matchup? And what do you think about Jackson recently? And what have you seen in his game? And what do you think the consistency in his competition schedule has added to his performances?
Jackson, I believe now that he's competing more, I believe that's gonna bring him a little bit more experience into that match, a little bit more strategy into that match, and I believe their match at Worlds, the match at World semifinals. I think that was, I think Jonathan was able to really get to a good position and use the rules, use the strategy to really win that match, like without leaving any room for error, and really killed any strategy that Jackson could bring to the table there. So I believe now, after this matchup and after that match, actually, after that match and after so many more matches, more experience that Jackson has been getting, he might bring something different to the table. He is very aggressive. I can see in his matches, he's very aggressive on his matches. He goes for super well. He did really well at Worlds. If you see his previous matches, he did really well. I believe he just against Jonathan. Jonathan was a better player. He was able to capitalize the position and, man, like just completely shut down Jackson's game. I'm really curious to see if Jackson's gonna really use that match as a learning experience and bring something different to the table, and then we're gonna see how it's gonna be Jonathan's reaction.
Yeah.
Jonathan is very experienced, as you said, 4-time PANS champion, current world champion. So like out of a great academy with Guy Mendes on his corner, which also was, in my opinion, one of the best to ever do it, and also great strategists of the game too. So I'm curious to see how would be his response, how would be Jonathan's response for that kind of approach. So I'm really looking forward to this match. As I was on the first one, when I saw that they were going to cross paths, I was like, man, this is gonna be a good match. But Jonathan was able to just get flawless, just shut down Jackson's game. So I want to see how that's gonna play out. I want to see what Jackson's going to bring different to the table and how it's going to be Jonathan's reaction, So I'm very interested there. I do not see the fight going the same way. I think that'll be same way that I mean, like the same style of the fight. I think they're going to be different regardless who wins. I think it's going to be a different approach for both fighters.
So that's the IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. We got the 8 competitors in the Absolute GP bracket. Then we have all the super fights. The event goes down Friday, September 1st. You can watch it exclusively on Flow Grappling. It's part of Jiu-Jitsu CON. We're also going to have a press conference the day before, which is going to be really cool. So thank you, Samir, for helping me break that down. Before we get out of here, I want to talk a little bit about Master Worlds because that's an amazing event too with so many incredible competitors. So are there any black belts competing at Master Worlds? I know this is a tough question because there's so many amazing ones that we're both excited to watch. But if you could just pick out a few black belts competing at Master Worlds that you're excited to watch compete, that'd be awesome.
And I'm always excited to watch Master World. There are so many idols of mine from when I was younger, and then competing in the tournaments always brings me, some really good, I compete the first day, so then like all the other days I'm gonna be there watching, Puga. It's a guy that I always like watching. He won last year. He won PANS weight and open class too. And so many guys. I'm Godoy is always someone that I like to watch it. Man, his fights are always is super fun to watch.
Yep.
I believe I also see that we have Renan Barão competing. We have quite a few UFC fighters come.
Demetrius Johnson,
Renan Barão. So I think it's just like, I was actually talking to Renan Barão this past weekend, and one thing he was saying is that's something that I always say. Jiu-Jitsu is like the only, I believe, like the only sport that you can do it for the rest of your life, because the masters, and now with how much prestige IBJJF has been putting into the masters division, it just brings people like icons, back to the tournaments and back to the tournaments and get us to watch, and
Yes.
seeing, like we're seeing Shaolin competing all the time. So it's it's just awesome tournaments. There are a lot of black belts, and I named a few, but there are a lot of black belts and competitors in general that are going to be doing that. That's definitely, I always enjoy competing. I always enjoy seeing competing since I was really young, so even in like my weight class, we have José Thiago that has won in numerous IBJJF adult tournaments too.
Yep.
So it's an amazing event. I can't wait to be competing. I can't wait to be watching the other weight classes too. And it's like, for me, it's like back in the past and watching some of my idols there competing.
We're super excited to watch all the names you mentioned. Also excited to watch you. Master 1 featherweight, black belt. That's a very stacked division, so don't miss that division too. And this whole Jiu-Jitsu CON event, Master Worlds, Jiu-Jitsu CON Kids, Jiu-Jitsu CON Adults, IBJJF Absolute Grand Prix. These events start Thursday, August 31st. They go through Saturday, September 2nd. You can watch the Absolute GP live on Flow Grappling. It's going to be on Friday, September 1st. You're not going to want to miss it. Amazing athletes in the GP, amazing super fights. Samir, thanks so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure, and I can't wait for this event.
Yeah, we'll see you out in Vegas. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
See you guys.